So as I've already said, this is my wife Emma. I'm Andy. We're both from Callington Lions, and we would like to tell you about the project we've got involved in for the last 12 months. So we've got a few photo frames which we're going to use the clicker on, just to give you a slight insight of what's been going on. So first one on the page, going back once more. She's the head of the game as usual. So where did Cornwall and Devon Sending Love to Ukraine start? So a guy in Callington called Darren Tate, who has a taxi company, was sitting at home on his daughter's birthday watching the things progress as the attack on Ukraine happened. He put a Facebook request. What's happened? He's put a Facebook request out. He was hoping to do a one-trip aid to the border of Ukraine with his taxi company, just to help in a small way. He put out this request on Facebook. Very quickly he had donations flooding into his taxi office, which was about 20 foot square. It was full 5 times over, and he had some like-minded people who also wanted to help. None of these guys were Lions at the time, and they set off organising their first trip. They literally went across Europe. They didn't know where they were going to stop, where they were going to stay, or where they were going to drop the aid. They were advised by some local people, don't even try it, you won't get across the borders. But he did it anyway, and good on him. So, Darren set off on his first trip. So my wife and I were sitting at home one weekend, a few days later, yesterday, and my son visited from Gloucester, and he was sitting there on his phone, as teenagers do, and he looked on his phone and he got a call from one of his mates, Alex, in Ukraine. We watched this video, and that's where it started. The boy's home had been blown up by a missile. He'd give us a video tour of his remains of his house. He's only 17, and quickly we were quite shocked by the reality of the situation. The next day, Johnny got another message through from him. This lad had kitted himself out in some sort of camouflage outfit, and he said, I'm going out to defend my family. That touch there, it was like, he's not much younger than my son. If my son was in that situation, you know, we have to do something. So, over the weekend, we talked about it, and we said, Emma and I do the soup run, we've done it for like 15 years in Plymouth. We like to look after people that are less fortunate ourselves, and we said, we have to go. So basically, we rang Darren, we said, we have a van, can we join your next trip? So that we did. So on Good Friday last year, we got our van, and we were, at the time, unable to use the Lions trauma teddies for the emergency services in Callington because of COVID. They wouldn't take the trauma teddies. We had a surplus, so we filled our vans with children's things to go to 1,000 orphans in Warsaw, which are being looked after by 3 Lions clubs there. So we had basically all the children's kit. We then went with Darren and Laura, and she took all the nappies in what we call the nappy bus, and she brings the refugees back, and off we went. So we were loaned a unit, a massive unit, which quickly filled with aid. Local volunteers, again non-Lions, but all poured in to help pack, sort, box, label, everything. And you will see a photo there on the left of Darren at the back of one of the vans. And on Good Friday, we set off at 5 a.m. on our 2,500 mile trip, 6 countries across Europe, with a convoy of people we'd never met before. What an experience that was. And due to some delays at Dover, 21 hours later, we're still on the road. Now we're in the next morning, and it's like 12:30 at night, we're still travelling. Anyway, we did our trip 1, and we went over to Warsaw, to a secret location, and we were given the opportunity to go to an air ambulance base. They sent us there because there was a link with Cornwall Lions, and the other 9 vans went to a different destination. We were then met by many Ukrainians to help unload everything we took. We were given a generic list of what we had, what they requested was urgent. Paracetamol, which was basically 30 pence in Tesco's, was £10 in the Ukraine. We were asked for medical aid, anything we could take. So we did our first trip, and then we were greeted to a lunch following our drop off at the air ambulance base. We were greeted to a lunch at a church in Warsaw, which I will hand over to Emma. She will explain the hospitality of the Ukrainians that we delivered to.
So we were taken to a church hall. Obviously we're talking about Easter Sunday. We were met by Ukrainian refugees who insist on feeding us to death. As you can see, the table is quite laden. Now, we had our 13-van convoy outside, and obviously, if anybody's noticed our van out front, we've got a Sending Love to Ukraine stickers. Now, every single of our vans have got that stickers on the back, so we can recognise them on the motorway, so we can stay into convoy. And basically, this lady came up to us and said, "Why have you got my flag on the back of your vans?" So we said, "We're delivering aid to the Ukraine." So she said, thank you so much. She went off, didn't think anything of it, went up into the church hall. Next thing, there was a commotion on the stairs. This lady, she brought her lunch to say thank you to us. She said, "We haven't got anything at all to give you to say thank you, so here's my lunch." Now, I don't think her husband was very impressed, but, but we were. It was amazing. It was a lovely meal. But, I mean, that just goes to prove, how thankful they are. As the afternoon went on, we then had a speech from our young lady called Irina. She's amazing. She's our aid lady who sends the aid over to the Ukraine border for us. And she was telling us that all the girls, all the women that had actually served us, she put into a house that she's obviously funding herself, and they've all been raped by the Russian soldiers and are now pregnant. To tell you the truth, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. All the men were crying, we were crying. It was a very emotional time, very emotional.
So we sort of picked ourselves up off the floor, and we said goodbye to these guys, and we quickly realised we'd be coming back again. So as it's working out at the moment, our group, Sending Love to Ukraine, is going pretty much every 4 weeks. So we basically then went again over the Jubilee weekend, set off at 5 a.m. on this long journey with the emotions still in our minds from the first trip. So the family on the right, we were very fortunate to bring back. They were our first family that we returned to St Anne's Chapel with the young lad, and we keep under our seat a bag of spare trauma teddies, and Emma gave one to the little lad for his journey 1,200 miles across Europe. And the family there, we were in a pantomime, we went with them a couple of weeks ago, and they're very grateful for being brought to a place of safety. So so on our second trip, this was our group in Poznan in Poland, and that was so, as you can imagine, we have a driver and a co-driver on each van. You need 2 drivers. It's very fast driving, very intense, tiring and emotional, so you need 2 drivers. So trip 2 was 17 vans, 34 drivers, and also we bring back refugees on each occasion into the minibuses. So moving on to the next one. So here we are heading off again to Dover, 11 o'clock in the morning, trying to catch the midday ferry before we go over to France and our onward journey. So now it's getting more serious. The demands of what we take is getting really serious. We're now delivering more serious medical aid, but we were also taking body bags and things that you wouldn't even imagine you'd be handing over to these people. So yes, off we went again on our second trip, and again we're getting to know the team now. None of them are currently Lions, apart from us. But people are now asking what Lions is. So we all have CB radios. So somebody put the question, what is Lions? So obviously we've got plenty of hours in the van to talk about it, so we gave a bit of a rundown what Lions is.
And they can't escape.
No. They can't climb out on the autobahn. So then moving on to the next frame. So there we are at Ferryport. This is the man who started Sending Love to Ukraine from Cornwall. He's a taxi driver, and I'm proud to say he's now a member of our club. And a very good friend. We this week badged up his future daughter-in-law, and we've also got two of our drivers who have been to their first meeting with Tavistock Club also, which is great. So we did it Lions because we wanted to, but the Lions word is being spread, and we're very proud. We've got our Lions logo on the van, which obviously we spread across Europe as we travel. So click it again. So the lady at the bottom right is Irina. She's a student from Ukraine. Her family are fighting in Ukraine for the country. She's an amazing woman. She runs 3 part-time jobs just to bring in some money. She's also having to fund our aid to get from Warsaw into Ukraine, which is not cheap. And on a 4-weekly basis, that's not easy going. She's incredible, inspirational. Her mother is in the picture with me, top right. We meet them every time. You can see the aid put into that unit. And if we go on, hang on a minute, bottom left. So by this time, the Russians are putting trackers in the aid. So we take the aid, not literally our aid, but other aid. It gets to the border, goes into Ukraine, they track it, they missile it. So basically now we've got an additional problem. So we're having to keep our destination secret. We're not told till the morning we drop it off, and we basically go off the radar while we get rid of it, while we unload it. It's not a good word to say to get rid of it, whilst we dispatch it to the Ukrainians. So in the bottom left, we were in the middle of the woods, literally in the middle of nowhere, delivering aid. There's about 400 Zimmer frames, wheelchairs, as well as all the other stuff. So yeah. So we've taken mattresses, well, the amount of medical aid, you can see a drip stand in the right hand side, and yeah, it's just endless. The list is endless and growing because the situation is getting more serious by the day. Laura is the lady with the Ukrainian trousers, by the way, in the bottom, on the bottom right picture, or sorry, the right hand picture. She's the one that sorts all the refugees' paperwork for bringing to the UK. So moving on to the next one, I'll hand over to Emma.
Right, so obviously we've got trauma teddies. Now we don't like to call them trauma teddies in Callington Club, we like to call them teddies to take away tears. And we've got 2 here, and they're always in the front of our van for every trip we go on, so they're our mascots, but we always carry some under our seat. We did pick up some refugees on one trip. Now we don't call them refugees, we don't like calling them refugees, we call them guests, because they are our guests until we take them to their sponsor family. So we've always got these trauma teddies. We picked a family up. It was a dad, a mum, a young girl that was probably about 6, and a teenager. Now we picked them up in Warsaw, and totally blank faces. No emotion, no nothing. They talked to us, but it was just yes, no. Now we came to find out, because obviously we get to know them quite well by the time we get to England, obviously. We found out that they'd actually spent 3 months in a cellar. Unfortunately, their first sponsor family couldn't put them up, so unfortunately they had to wait 3 months, so they had to go into a cellar. Now we were in Drewsburg, and I said to Andrew, we'll go grab a Teddy takeaway tears, so we'll give it to the younger one. So now, hasten to add, we've got no emotion from these people whatsoever. So I gave her a trauma teddy, well, Teddy takeaway tears, I'll just call them Teds, it's easier. So I gave her 2 Teds, so I thought one could keep each other company. And she looked at me and I said, this is for you. Sorry, I might get a bit emotional here. And she took one look at me and she took those teddies and she held them and she gave me the most amazing smile. And we looked at each other and we said, we might be tired, we might be knackered, but that's one reason why we do it. Just for that little glass smile. And do you know what? She smiled at us every single time the van passed her van, or we stopped for a toilet stop or what have you. And she was just so chuffed, these teddies. So chuffed.
So this is one of the groups, one of our more recent missions, and we always tend to have a group photograph at the end of each trip. They always do a canvas for us, which you can see one there. And Emma was in Poland 2 weeks ago. They recently did they did an auction, but they also did an annual. It was like the start of the war was a year ago, so we timed the trip to be with that date, and they did an auction to try and raise money. So yes, that's one of the groups. What's on the next one? So basically this is one of the canvases they gave us, which means a lot to me. They're very humbled by the work that everybody in the UK has done. The amount of support we've had locally is immense. Our unit is filling up again for the next trip on the 10th of April. I'm very pleased to say I'll put out a request, because it's so expensive. It costs £1,200 a van. We're self-funding, that's per trip. We're going every 4 weeks. Some people gift aid, some people fundraise by events, which we help support. We've got local churches, local choirs, all sorts of things going on everywhere at the moment to try and raise money so we can keep this going. And also to fund the fuel, and also to fund the fuel for the people to get the aid from Warsaw over into Ukraine. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a full-time job at the moment, trying to keep up with what's going on. As well as we've gained a lot of new friends. We've gained some new lines, which is even better. Kevin came with us Kevin Brooks on the trip a couple of times ago, which is amazing.
Trip 9.
On trip 9. And to date, within 12 months, our group has done 10 trips over there. The 11th trip being in 2 weeks' time. And we have managed to get 104 vans of aid to Warsaw, and an ambulance which Callington Club funded the fuel, and was done by one of our teams to get the funding for the ambulance. It was kitted out and filled with defibrillators, and it was escorted from the border straight to Odessa. And on our more recent trips, as well as taking the aid to the unit, they've now got wise to the idea that where they meet us for 4 minibuses with Ukrainians in, and they take the immediate things like wheelchairs, medical aid, anything they need immediately, straight to the frontline hospital, which goes within hours, is there. Many people ask, how do you know the aid gets there? We get WhatsApp videos, photographs with our stickers on. Somebody the other day had a generator outside what was left of their house with our sticker on it. So yeah, it's a very humbling, exhausting experience. It's great to be part of a group. It's great to share the Lions side of it with them. As Lions we serve. Our group has served as non-Lions, but some of them are now becoming Lions. And we're very proud to have now, well, when we came here on Thursday, we had 10 clubs in our district that supported us very, very well. We've had Tavistock and Lou and Weymouth recently been with us, taking vans. And now today we have actually had 12 clubs, so we've got a fifth of our district now supporting us. Any support it can give us, whether it be donations for fuel, for anything as in sleeping bags, anything, we have a list of what's required, even if it's paracetamol at 30p a packet. It doesn't have to be expensive. We've got little ladies knitting trauma teddies like no tomorrow. So it's not the cost, it's just the logistics of helping these poor people. They're struggling to stay alive, and we're trying to help. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to your support. Thank you.
Our international director has something he wants to say.
Fellow Lions, thank you for your storytelling here today, this district convention, Lion Andrew and Lion Emma. And I think I represent all of us here. It's very touching, and you're doing a great service project for the kids and families in Ukraine. And on behalf of our international president, Brian Sheehan, I have the honor today to award you with a leadership medal for your great service. And I know, fellow Lions and Lion Andrew and Emma, that Lions International are very proud of what you're doing, and also looking for what you are doing as a good example. We have to do more of what you are doing, and I will talk with my colleagues, directors, when I go back to the board meeting in Boston. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Please answer.
Well done, Andy. Very honoured. Thank you very much.
Can I just say, this isn't for just me and Andrew. This is for all of Devon and Cornwall sending love to Ukraine, and Darren and all our volunteers, and that man the unit, that drive vans, that just do just a minus little thing. This is not just for us guys. This is for everybody in our group, and I'm sure they'll be proud as punch. And we're going to keep going for as long as Ukraine needs us. Slava Ukraine!
Yes, and thank you from myself as well. I really appreciate all the support that Lions, it's been amazing. The Lions support we've got over the last few months has made a massive difference.
Right, Emma and Andy, great speech. Just tell us a little bit about the reaction that you got, and what is it like to be presented with medals?
Well, I'll start as I normally do. I try not to rabbit on, and I had to look at the presentation on the laptop over the last couple of days, because we've made 3 that we take around to various groups to talk about. I've forgotten which one we had for this event. I must admit I was very nervous addressing over 200 Lions today, and international guests. Pressure was on. I've been mulling it over for the last 12 hours in my head, and the response was amazing. The people several were in tears. Didn't realise I was that ugly, but never mind. It must have been some of the words we said. I think we got the message across, the importance of the Ukrainian crisis, the ongoing situation, and why we need to keep supporting them. And it's very humbling to have Lions clubs across our district on board, assisting us. We cannot do it without, because it's just not physically possible.
Lovely.
Most of us work, and yes, I'm very humbled to receive the award. Thank you.
Emma?
Blown away. Didn't expect that at all. Yeah, totally blown away. It was a lovely, nice feeling. But like I said on the acceptance speech, hopefully Kevin's videoed that. That obviously it's not just for me and Andrew. We were just helping the group to spread the word, and luckily it's worked. So basically, it's for you, Darren, and for sending love to Ukraine. That's all I can say. So.
Lovely.
Keep up the good work, Darren. And we've had many inquiries since we finished just now. People offering aid. We've got many more places to go and do talks, and I'm sure that you will be getting much more support as a group
I've
over the
even
few
had
weeks.
some lady give me a monetary donation.